back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to go back to 1985 for a sequel to a Chuck Norris movie. But before getting into it, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. And also, as always, a shameless plug for my TeePublic store. I'll leave a link for that in the description box below. And today, yes, 1985 for Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. Although this was supposed to be the first movie released, we'll get into that. Missing in Action Part 2 came out March 1st of 1985. The first one came out in 84. This one came out the next year. It's rated R like the first film, hour and 40 minutes long. Had a budget of about 2.4. The first movie had about the same budget, 2.5, I think. And upon release, this made 10.7, so considerably less. The first movie made over $20 million when it was released. This was directed by Lance Hull. He had worked with Cannon for a little bit, and he would go on after this to direct the movie Still Dawn with Patrick Swayze in 1987. I had reviewed that before. If you've never seen it, it's a pretty cool little futuristic Mad Max type movie. Check it out. It's available. You can get the Blu-ray off at Amazon. I think it's streaming on Tubi as well, so if you're interested, you can check that out. In this film, we got Chuck Norris as Colonel Braddock, and we got Steve Williams as Captain David Nestor, who ends up being kind of a traitor. And this movie was filmed with the first Missing in Action simultaneously. They were filmed back to back, and the plan was for this one to come out first. But when they were done editing both movies, they realized that the second movie was the better movie, so they released that one first and then released this one as the part 2. And this is definitely the movie that sets up the first film. We see Braddock getting taken, him and a group of his men get taken as prisoners of war, and then they're left behind. And they're working this camp run by this general who hates Braddock and is trying to grind him down to admit to doing war crimes. And finally, as you would expect, Braddock breaks out. He has his breaking point. He breaks out of the camp and then wages all-out war on this camp. And at the end, he kills the general, gets away with a few of his men that are still alive, and that's the end of Missing in Action 2. And then Missing in Action 1 would pick up right at, a couple years after this film. But anyway, this film, you know, I think Chuck Norris is good here. I like him actually better than the first film, though. I think, and the first film's definitely better directed. Joseph Zito does a much better job with the action and just with everything in the first film. Not that this film is totally awful. I think the first film is handled much better by a more seasoned director in Joseph Zito. There's some cool action set pieces here. There's not as much action, I would say. It takes a little bit. There's a lot of like torture and a lot of day-to-day life in this camp. So you get to see what the prisoners of war, the Missing in Action guys are going through, working at this camp and just doing whatever it is General wants them to do, and how he's trying to grind down Braddock into admitting these war crimes that are false and not true. I will say, like, you could tell that Lance Hull wasn't a seasoned director because some of the action's not filmed the greatest, and some of the effects don't come off as good as they would in the first film, which is technically originally going to be the second film. But this is one I never saw until I saw a version of this on TV. That was the first time I saw it, where I'd seen the first one on TV, but my dad also had it copied on a VHS tape. So I got to see the R-rated version of the first one. This one I only ever got to see the cut-down version until many years later, and then I picked up this Blu-ray. Again, this is nowhere near as good as the first film. They definitely made the right call releasing the first film first. This film, the thinking was they would have released this first. It would have hurt the other film. So that's why they released what they felt was the better film first. And I think they made the right call. Cannon did make the right call, and it worked because that movie made quite a bit of money for the budget. And this movie didn't quite do as well, although it did make a little bit of profit. And then they would make part 3 about 3 years later, and we'll go over that one. I'm going to watch that and review that in this Chuck Norris series, going back through some of his movies since he passed away. Again, yeah, I think the first one's a superior film. I still think there's some really cool moments in this film, some interesting moments. It's just, you could tell Lance Hull wasn't the director that Joseph Zito was. He would go on later. He directed other things after Still Dawn, but he would go on to produce like some pretty big movies, like Man on Fire with Denzel Washington, Club Dread with the Broken Lizard guys, and he would produce a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, I just don't think he was that. I think Still Dawn actually might be a little bit of a better directed movie than this one. But, you know, he does good enough. It's just, you can tell the difference if you watch these pretty close together. End of the day, this is a perfectly fine Cannon movie. I just think the first one's better directed. So at the end of the day, I would give Missing in Action 2, The Beginning, a 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10 for Missing in Action 2. What are your thoughts on this film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. That's it for this one, but until next time, bye.